The Chernobyl disaster. The night that changed history forever. On April 26, 1986, the world witnessed the worst nuclear disaster in human history. It happened in the Soviet Union at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, near the city of Pripyat in present-day Ukraine. What started as a routine safety test quickly turned into a catastrophe that would affect millions of lives and leave a scar on history that remains visible even today. To understand what happened, we need to go back to the beginning. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant was considered one of the Soviet Union's most important energy facilities. Thousands of workers operated the plant, and nearby stood the city of Pripyat, a modern town built specifically for plant employees and their families. Pripyat was a thriving city. It had schools, hospitals, parks, restaurants, and nearly 50,000 residents. Most people believed they were living in one of the most advanced cities in the Soviet Union. But beneath the surface, serious problems existed. The reactors used at Chernobyl had design flaws that many operators did not fully understand. Combined with human error and poor communication, these flaws created the perfect conditions for disaster. On the evening of April 25, 1986, engineers prepared to conduct a safety test on Reactor No. 4. The purpose of the test seemed simple. They wanted to determine whether the reactor's turbines could continue generating enough electricity to power emergency systems during a blackout until backup generators activated. The test had been attempted before but never completed successfully. As operators reduced the reactor's power, unexpected problems began to appear. The reactor became unstable. Instead of stopping the test, operators continued. Several safety systems were disabled to keep the experiment running. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then everything went wrong. The mission was incredibly dangerous. Pilots faced extreme radiation exposure during each flight. Many sacrificed their health to prevent an even larger catastrophe. Scientists feared a second explosion could occur if molten nuclear fuel reached underground water supplies. Such an explosion might have contaminated vast regions of Europe. To prevent this, 3 workers volunteered for a critical mission. They entered flooded tunnels beneath the reactor to open drainage valves. The operation was extremely risky. Their actions helped reduce the possibility of an even greater disaster. As news slowly spread, radiation detectors in other countries began sounding alarms. In Sweden, workers at a nuclear plant discovered unusual radiation levels on their clothing. At first, officials thought their own facility was leaking. Soon they realized the contamination was coming from outside the country. The world was beginning to understand that something terrible had happened in the Soviet Union. Eventually, radioactive contamination spread across large parts of Europe. Rain carried radioactive particles into forests, rivers, and farmland. Some areas became unsafe for human habitation. Farm animals were destroyed. Food supplies were monitored. Entire communities faced uncertainty. Back at Chernobyl, thousands of soldiers, engineers, miners, and workers were mobilized. These people became known as the liquidators. Their mission was to clean up the disaster and prevent further contamination. Many worked in extremely hazardous conditions. Some spent only minutes near the reactor because radiation levels were so high. Robots sent to perform cleanup tasks often failed because the radiation damaged their electronics. As a result, humans had to perform jobs machines could not complete. One of the largest projects involved building a massive concrete structure around the destroyed reactor. Known as the sarcophagus, it was designed to contain radioactive material and reduce further releases into the environment. Construction took place under enormous pressure and danger, yet it was completed in just a few months. The human cost of Chernobyl remains difficult to measure. Dozens of people died directly from the explosion and acute radiation sickness. Many others developed health problems in later years. Scientists continue to debate the total long-term impact. What is certain is that millions of people were affected in some way. The disaster also changed how the world viewed nuclear energy. Governments introduced stricter safety regulations. Nuclear facilities around the globe reviewed their emergency procedures. The lessons learned from Chernobyl influenced reactor design for decades. Today, the area around the reactor remains known as the exclusion zone. Although some wildlife has returned, large sections remain heavily contaminated. Pripyat still stands abandoned. Schools, hospitals, amusement parks, and apartment buildings remain frozen in time. Walking through the city feels like stepping into a world that suddenly stopped moving. In 2016, a massive steel structure called the new safe confinement was placed over the old sarcophagus. The structure was designed to contain radioactive material for many decades, while engineers continued dismantling the remains of Reactor No. 4. More than 40 years later, Chernobyl remains a symbol of technological failure, human courage, and the devastating consequences of mistakes made under pressure. It reminds us that even the most advanced systems can fail when safety is ignored. It reminds us of the firefighters who rushed into danger without hesitation, the workers who risked everything to contain the disaster, and the thousands of families forced to leave their homes forever. The story of Chernobyl is not just a story about a nuclear accident. It is a story about people, their decisions, their sacrifices. And so the story of Chernobyl comes to an end. More than 4 decades have passed since that tragic night. Yet the disaster remains one of the most powerful reminders of how a single mistake can change the course of history forever. Thousands of people risked their lives to contain the catastrophe. Many paid the ultimate price, while countless others were forced to leave their homes and never return. Today, Chernobyl stands as a silent monument to both human error and human courage. Its abandoned buildings, empty streets, and haunting atmosphere continue to remind the world of what happened on April 26, 1986. But what do you think? Could a disaster like Chernobyl happen again in the modern world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more incredible true stories, historical events, and mysteries from around the world, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.